What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news, lots of cool sports car news here this week, and lots of exciting stuff to cover. And there was already a lot of exciting stuff earlier this week. I already covered the Blue Flame version of the GR Corolla that just came out and some of the other changes for it, as well as the GR86 getting a performance package and a new Torino edition, and the Supra finally getting an orange 45th anniversary edition. So check those videos out. If you haven't already, they'll automatically play at the end of this video in a playlist. And also, I want to mention I will be doing a live stream here this Sunday at 12:30 Eastern time here. So if you can join, definitely do. It's a lot of fun. We always have a great time answering all of your questions, talking cars, and just hanging out. So join if you can. But anyway, getting into the very exciting news here this week. The first bombshell, I mean, completely out of nowhere. No teasers, no hints, nothing. And all of a sudden, NISMO Z. I'm not complaining, but really a surprise to see it, and it's fully revealed. We don't have any specs just yet, but I mean, we've seen it from every single angle here, inside and out, and it even shows off some of its capabilities clearly with all the drifting you see here. So yeah, anyway, we also still don't know pricing or release date just yet, but it seems like we won't have much longer to wait because all those details, Nissan says, will be coming later this summer when they say a new chapter of thrill is coming for the worldwide Z fan base later this summer. Anyway, this 44-second YouTube video reveals a lot in a short amount of time, and it seems promising. What we see beyond the styling is confirmation that it will still use the twin-turbo V6. That sounds great, has a 7,000 RPM red line there, and it'll at least be available in an automatic since that's what's being shown here, but hopefully it'll still come in a manual as well. I'm a little concerned about the fact they're showing it off with an automatic version, but we will see. That could be the big upset if this is auto only for some reason, but again, we'll wait until we have all the details to know about that. But anyway, it also gets some very thin and light-looking Recaro seats and some lightweight wheels with big brakes and Dunlop tires. And so yeah, can't wait to learn more about that, but very exciting to see that bombshell surprise there. Another great surprise here this week is that motorsport.com talked to Toyota's World Endurance Championship team director about a new GT3 race car. And that's already been confirmed. They're going to do that, and it would be basically based on that GT3 concept that we saw back in the beginning of 2022. That was already given the green light. It's happening for motorsport, and typically, you know, you have to have a production-based model to go along with it, and so that, you know, has already been confirmed. That's, you know, happening as well here, but now we do have a release date. So they said the race car will compete in 2026, and the team director said that the date is in alignment with the road car side, which is following the philosophy of Toyota to have a motorsport-bred car on the road. This is moving forward at the moment. So a little bit of hesitation there saying at the moment, but clearly, you know, I think it's something that's going to happen here. And motorsport.com also asked if it'll end up being a Lexus instead of a Toyota, like the rumors have suggested. I mean, the styling looks more Lexus. We saw the leaked images last year of a patent image, and, you know, it definitely looks more like a Lexus. But he said, at the moment, it seems to be, as far as becoming a Lexus. He said, it depends on how it develops within Toyota, but at the moment, yes. And so if it is replacing the RCF in that racing, you know, slot there, then it would make sense to have this be the new RC or whatever they want to call it, but have that positioning in the lineup, or maybe even something higher. But, you know, especially if it's going to be super expensive, having the Lexus branding certainly helps with that and that dealer experience and all that. So makes the most sense here, and seems like it's the way it's going to go, which is awesome. Even if they can't call it a GR, have it be an F instead. Sounds good to me. Great news all around. And it sounds like Lexus won't be the only one selling a road-going version of their GT3 car potentially. So Ford this week was spied testing an aggressive-looking Mustang, and I can't show you the pictures of it due to the licensing costs about those pictures, but as far as the pictures, they don't really show too much because it's pretty heavily camouflaged anyway. So what I can tell you is that it shows off the fact that it has a center exit exhaust, has, you know, more aggressive bodywork, from what we can tell, again, hidden under the heavy camo there, and that it's going to have Michelin's most aggressive tire as well. So that's about all we could tell from those pictures anyway, so nothing really to see there. But the big thing here is the spy shooter also said it appears that it wasn't having any kind of supercharger whine. Now, the GT500, you know, didn't really have a lot to begin with, so it could have snuck past him, but it seems like, you know, it's going to be naturally aspirated potentially, and that means it's unlikely that this is the new GT500 we're looking at. So it's possible they could use the GT350 name again, for something like this, but with how Ford went with the dark horse and kind of tossing away the Mach 1 branding and all that, it seems like they might not be going for the historical names for this generation, kind of forging a new path here. So I could see if it's based on the GT3 car, it's a road going version of their GT3 car in some ways, just calling it the Mustang GT3. Obviously, it's a very good name that's worked for Porsche and others in the past. So I could totally see that being the case. Now, as far as the actual GT3 race car version of the 2024 Mustang, that does run a 5.4 liter version of the Coyote V8. We will see if they can actually, bring that, modified version of the Coyote to production for this vehicle if, this happens. But the center exit exhaust, which look pretty big in the spy shots, suggest that, whatever it is, it's going to be very free-flowing, very aggressive, and be great to see, something beyond just the same Coyote V8 here. So, anyway, very interesting to see and hear about that. We'll see how that develops. And the last little bit of sports car news here is with the announcement this past week about the 2024 GR86 getting adaptive cruise control with the manual. A lot of people are even asking me, is the BRZ going to get the same treatment? And logic would say that yes, it would. Obviously, it's built on the same line. They use all the same tech. Everything's, very, very similar between the two cars. So it would actually probably cost them more money to not implement it on both cars than to implement it on both. I think it's only a matter of time before we hear a yes from Subaru. They did this week, though, confirm it is already going to be available later this year for Japanese market BRZs. And that was just an international announcement, so I don't think that's excluding the US. I think it will come to the US as well. I think Subaru's just taking their own sweet time as far as coming out with their own, if they do a special edition possibly, or just announcing, the EyeSight and also potentially, performance package. If, again, the Toyota's getting it, typically, they've shared components like that, in the last generation. So I would assume we will also get the performance pack on the BRZ as an option. It's another question some people have been asking me. I would assume all that stuff's going to copy over. And even if Subaru doesn't offer it, I mean, you can just put that stuff on, from Toyota anyway, if you really wanted to, since it is just a dealer installed thing. I think it's, most likely just a matter of time before we hear that announcement here. And it's also my guess that now that they've come up with a solution to do the adaptive cruise control, EyeSight stuff with the manual, that also means that we're going to see it in the WRX. And this way Subaru could finally, I think Subaru's really been irked about the fact they can't claim EyeSight is standard across the board in their entire lineup. And so now that it's going to be standard on the BRZ, most likely, in the US as well, I think they're going to put it on the WRX too. So expect that for the 2024 model for the WRX. Again, I can't say that for certain, but common sense again would suggest they have that solution. They're going to want to put it in everything, and also expect a price bump for these models as a result. Having those cameras now and that whole system, as standard is going to drive up the price at least by $1,000, if not more, I'm guessing. So, be prepared for price increases for the 2024 BRZ and WRX if, again, the common sense stuff turns out to be true. So anyway, but very interesting to hear that at least there is confirmation Subaru is getting it in Japan on the BRZ for now. And Infiniti this week has revealed a new logo, as well as a whole rebrand of how they're redesigning their dealerships. There's a new scent for Infiniti and all kinds of other interesting stuff. So the logos you see here will be illuminated on their vehicles, and as you can see, it's more three-dimensional than before. And I think it's a really nice, subtle improvement in my opinion. Still recognizable, not confusing like the new Kia badges for some people. I think this is a really nice change there. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Their commercials will also feature a new sound. And the dealerships and possibly even the cars will get this signature scent as well that they've concocted here. So the showrooms are very modern looking here, and the first ones in the States to get this set up will be in downtown Los Angeles and in Georgetown, Texas. And apparently they're already undergoing renovations for this and should be done here sometime relatively soon. And of course we'll roll out to other Infiniti dealers in due time here as well. But a really nice little change. We will see. Again, the bottom line is the products. And so that's the thing, okay, we got the logo, we got the new dealerships, now let's get some new products in there and, try and bring a next generation of Infiniti here to really help with their transformation. But this is a great first step and interesting to see that. Cadillac this week has teased the Escalade IQ once again before its reveal on August 9th. So this teaser video shows off the lighting in the front here, which is completely different from a regular Escalade. And we get a few other close-up shots, but no other additional info. But past spy shots have shown that it's going to have the same 8-lug wheel setup as the Hummer and Silverado EVs. So expect this to have similar specs to those as far as having the double stack battery, most likely, lots of range, lots of power, very fast charging, probably will do the 350 kilowatt charging and all that. So and it's also going to be built in the same factory as those models, which also further solidifies that theory that it's going to have the Hummer and Silverado EV stuff. And so that means that in addition to the very impressive specs, it'll most likely have a very impressive price tag as well on the upper side of that as far as impressive goes. I mean, if Escalade V is 150 and Hummer's already 110, I could see this, either being at that 150 mark, maybe it could be less, could be more too. We will have to see. I mean, obviously Cadillac is not scared to go high because, with the Celestiq being 300 grand to start, obviously this is going to be more mass market than that. This isn't a hand-built thing like that is, but, honestly, it wouldn't shock me if we saw even a 200 grand price tag for a fully loaded one or something. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll have another month or so here to wait. But very interesting to see that teaser. And some other GM EV news here. Buick this week has revealed the Electra E4 for China. So this is the second Buick EV for China here. They already revealed the more traditional Electra E5 a few months ago. So this one uses the same Ultium platform, but gets the coupier styling you see here that slots above the Vista in a way, which would certainly mean it would make sense for our lineup here in the States as well. We will see if it comes to the States. So far, this is just for China. And so it's about 7 inches longer than even the Envision. So, a nice step up in size here. Inside, it gets a 30-inch curved 6K display and a big glass roof there. And the regular E4 is front-wheel drive only and uses a 65 kilowatt-hour battery for 241 horsepower and 243 pound-feet of torque. And it can do 329 miles on China's test cycle. We will see. I'm sure EPA will be lower. But anyway, there's also an E4 GS that not only bumps the power up to 283 horsepower and 343 pound-feet of torque, but also adds on all-wheel drive and a bigger 79.7 kilowatt-hour battery. So if you want all-wheel drive in one of these things, at least in China, you're going to have to go up to the GS version, the sportier one, which is kind of an interesting choice there, but we'll see how that plays out for them. Anyway, that drops the 0 to 62 mile per hour time down from 7.6 seconds in the regular E4 to 6.2 seconds. So, pretty good, but it's nothing mind-blowing. Honestly, it seems a little slow considering, how much power it has. But anyway, the bigger battery also boosts range to 385 miles, again on that China test cycle. Plus, it adds some pretty impressive 6-piston Brembo front brakes, which is honestly more than I was expecting for something like this. So that's cool. And it's likely that this is going to be, one of the Buick EVs we will get here eventually. We'll most likely get a version of the E5 first, the more practical one, but I could see, this coupe version debuting right alongside it as well. And I think there's a pretty good chance we'll get both of these here for sure. And so interesting to see that. Another foreign vehicle that I think has a pretty good chance of coming to the US here is the Ram Rampage. So while we got a fairly good look at it already, this week we get a full reveal here for Brazil, and that includes specs. So now seeing all of it, it's pretty impressive how much it looks like the full-size 1500 while still being based on a small unibody platform. And although it doesn't seem that small in the pictures, these pictures must be really deceiving because, believe it or not, this is actually about 3 inches shorter than the Ford Maverick, which is already fairly small. And it's about 2 inches taller though, at least. But like the all-wheel drive Maverick, the Rampage uses a multi-link rear suspension, and all-wheel drive is actually standard here in the Rampage, as is a 9-speed automatic. In Brazil, it'll offer a turbo diesel 4-cylinder that most likely won't come here, but then they also offer a gas 4-cylinder turbo. So for the US, it'll likely only get that gas version, which is the Hurricane 2-liter Turbo 4 that does 268 horsepower and 294 pound-feet of torque in this tune here, and that provides a 6.9 seconds 0 to 60. The inside is what really conveys its small proportions, though, with a dashboard that doesn't even look like it's as wide as the one on the Dodge Hornet. I mean, it is small with width there, but it still manages to house a 12.3-inch touchscreen, a 10.3-inch digital gauge cluster, and even plush leather here on the seats and dash for the top Laramie trim. There will also be Rebel and RT trims, and that RT actually gets a sportier and lower suspension setup, which is the first modern nod that I've seen to the old street-focused trucks of the decades past ever. So, I mean, I'm really hoping that maybe more truck companies, do some kind of street truck, sport truck kind of thing. That'd be fun. Rumors suggest that we could see our version here pretty soon. Some rumors are even suggesting these will go on sale by like the end of this year, which seems a little optimistic. But supposedly our version will be built in Mexico, so it would avoid the chicken tax and finally give Ram a smaller truck here in the States. But we'll have to wait and see, if that all pans out. And continuing on with this whole theme of foreign vehicles that will make their way over here in some form, Mercedes this week has revealed the wagon version of the new E-Class, which Car and Driver confirmed will be coming to the U.S. in the all-terrain trim, thanks to EPA paperwork they found, but we don't know any of the U.S. details for this one yet either. But anyway, the styling here shows off a rear hatch that's a bit more sloped than the last generation, and the vehicle is 1.1 inches wider and is on a wheelbase that's almost an inch longer as well, allowing more rear legroom and cargo space. It looks great though, and it's a shame we won't get a non-lifted version of this wagon like we see here, aside from, hopefully a wagon version of maybe the next generation E63 that's rumored to debut here next year as a 2025 model, but that's a big if. I don't think we know if it's going to get a wagon version for the new E63, and I'm assuming we'll get it here, but as far as how that's going to play out, we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, great to see that they're continuing to do a wagon even for Europe, because Mercedes has said I think this is the last generation of wagon, and they're going to start getting away from that stuff because this is just these niche things they don't sell a ton of. But so really great to see, and I think it's a really nice looking wagon. And another European vehicle that was teased here and will definitely be coming to the US market is the next generation Volkswagen Tiguan, which Volkswagen showed partially hidden by camo here, but they've revealed quite a bit, and we can see the styling is really streamlined and less boxy for this generation, which is an interesting choice that seems to be going against the trends these days, with everything else getting boxier and more rugged looking. This is going the exact opposite, and almost looks like it could be electric. And while it doesn't appear that we're getting a fully electric version, at least not yet, they have revealed that they'll offer a plug-in hybrid version that'll be doing an impressive 62 miles of electric range, which I believe is the new record. If this does come to the States with this much range, I think that would probably top everything else that's out there for plug-in hybrids currently. And they also say it'll get an active suspension system as standard, and even showed off the huge 15-inch touchscreen it'll offer alongside its digital gauges. So get ready for a much more expensive Tiguan if they're going to be having active suspension as standard. That's pretty advanced stuff. So we'll see. There's also a driving experience controller that's in the middle there, and that can change not only the drive modes but also radio volume and ambient lighting colors. And while this version shown is the shorter wheelbase version for Europe, we'll likely get a longer wheelbase version here in the US that should give a little bit of extra space. But even still, Volkswagen says this one is about an inch longer than the old Tiguan, and that provides an extra cubic foot of cargo space. It's on the MQB Evo platform that's shared with the Golf and the A3, but of course has been modified here to be a little larger for the Tiguan. And it'll be fully revealed this fall and will go on sale in 2024, at least for Europe. We'll see. Sometimes it's a little bit delayed for us. Maybe we won't get it till 2025, but we'll see. But great to see that. And the last theme here is about the dominoes continuing to fall as far as everyone jumping ship from CCS over to the NACS standard from Tesla. So the domino this week that has fallen is Rivian. So they announced the same stuff as everyone else, saying they're going to be adopting Tesla's connector and gaining access to Tesla's supercharger network starting next spring. And so same as all the others. And the timelines also, it's funny how it's all the same for all these, where there's going to be an adapter in the meantime for current vehicles. And then in 2025 is the year where everything from all these companies is going to switch to the NACS connector, port in their vehicles. And then anyone that's trying to use CCS from that point forward will need an adapter to use a CCS connector. So it'll be an interesting transition here for everyone, but hopefully it goes smoothly. And continuing with those falling dominoes potentially here, and not confirmed just yet, but Stellantis told Reuters this week that at this time we continue to evaluate the NACS standard and look forward to discussing more in the future. So it doesn't sound like they've signed on just yet and decided anything yet, but clearly they're seeing the writing on the wall here. Everyone is jumping ship. So I would expect everyone to probably fall in line and do the same thing here. It seems like that is going to be the way things are going here. So, it also they have a lot of leverage between Tesla, Ford, and GM. That's a large majority of the EV market already. And so, you know, and especially with, I think, like Chrysler stuff's coming in 2025 that's electric. If everyone's switching in 2025, just starting out with the NACS thing kind of avoids the adapter, you know, drama that everyone else is going to have to deal with here for the next year and a half. And, you know, I think they're kind of primed to, you know, since nothing's been out there yet, you know, they're primed to kind of get that stuff ready to go right from the get-go. And so we'll see. But anyway, sounds like Stellantis is certainly open to it. And another company that'll probably be joining in sooner rather than later is Hyundai this week. Their CEO also was talking about the NACS connector. And for them, their problem is that their vehicles charge faster than what the Tesla Supercharger setup can currently provide. Now, there is faster superchargers coming, but supposedly Hyundai is trying to consult with Tesla as far as can the current superchargers put out more power to you know, hit the peak rates of these Hyundais, Kias, and Genesis models that can do, you know, the really fast charging, or, you know, they also said that if that's not something that's possible, then they said Hyundai CEO is also going to look into it from a consumer's perspective to see if owners of those vehicles are even interested in having access to the supercharger network. I think the common sense answer is yes, they would like to have access, even if it's not the top speeds those vehicles are capable of. If you're in a bind and you can't, you know, find a fast Electrify America or EVgo station that can do those top charge rates, you know, you can at least still have a fairly fast charge rate from the Tesla Supercharger. And it's just good to have, you know, more options, even if they're not all top speed options. So I'm assuming that everyone would agree with me that owns a Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis, but we will see, you know, what they end up deciding there at Hyundai as far as that goes. And, but I think, you know, Hyundai, that's the thing. They really want to try and figure this out as far as the faster charging so they don't waste the 800-volt architecture that they're not only already invested in, but, I mean, Hyundai's already said they're working on a next-generation 800-volt architecture, and I think most others will eventually get to that point anyway. So, you know, that's the thing that, you know, I think Hyundai's going to be putting pressure on Tesla to figure out, and also Porsche. Porsche and Audi have the 800-volt architecture with the Taycan and the, you know, e-tron GT and all that, and, again, more stuff coming down the road. So, you know, I think they're also probably going to hop in there with Hyundai and be like, yeah, like, we'd all like to join, but, you know, you got to up these speeds, you know, if you actually want our, you know, customers to go to your chargers versus the Electrify America and EVgo stuff. So, very interesting. We'll see, you know, what Tesla ends up doing there for that, but very interesting to hear that Hyundai, again, also seems like they're very much open to it if they can, you know, figure out those things. So interesting to hear that. And for the last little bit of news here related to this giant industry shift of charging networks, SK Signet, which is the company that actually builds the chargers for Electrify America, EVgo, and others this week, has stated that they've already started development of ultra-fast chargers with both CCS and NACS connectors, and that these chargers could simultaneously charge both using the connector. So, you know, a lot of these chargers have, you know, a double-sided thing, so two parking spots can both charge from one stall. And so it sounds like even if you have one stall using CCS and another using the NACS, you can still have that, you know, going for both of those. And it's kind of cool. They've, you know, figured that out. And they also said that they plan to introduce the new chargers later this year. So pretty quick. I'm guessing it's just a minor change, and this is stuff that was already in the works as far as new chargers anyway, so that's why there's a fast timeline here, hopefully, and hopefully they're more reliable for these new chargers. And they also said they just opened a factory in Texas that can build over 10,000 of these DC fast chargers a year. So, you know, expect to see tons and tons of these chargers out there, especially now you got all this government money coming in, funding all these projects, subsidizing all this stuff. You're seeing, again, everyone now really diving in head over heels into this whole, you know, infrastructure thing and all these improvements. So, you know, expect again to see lots more chargers out there very quickly. I mean, I think superchargers, there's 12,000 of those. I think there's roughly 10,000 of other DC fast chargers out there currently. And then they're going to do 10,000 more per year just from this company alone. So, I mean, you're talking about the charging infrastructure increasing by at least 50%, 100% if you don't count the superchargers, you know, so it's going to really, and that's per year. So every single year here, it's going to be doubling in size basically, and continuing to, you know, get larger and larger. So very impressive to see, you know, these investments coming in and this stuff improving so fast. And so, yeah, anyway, that's it as far as all the news this week, guys. But lastly, I wanted to mention here that I want to thank many of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. We didn't have any new members join this week, but thanks to the generosity of the gifting that was done during the live stream here by the Trucking Car Guy and Sean Brewer, special shout out to both of you for gifting those memberships. We did have a lot of people that were able to rejoin thanks to those, and so, but I want to give a special shout out to you two for your very generous gifts, especially Truck and Car Guy every week. I really appreciate that in the live streams, and I'm sure many of you do as well, who are now members thanks to his generosity. So for anyone else that would like to join, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please also leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.